New player mistake number 1. Casting creatures before combat. I see new players making this mistake all the time. When is the best time to cast your creature spells? We are going to go over this right now. Reaching and teaching young mages of all ages. Welcome, young mage. I'm Rhino. Before we get started, tell me in the comments below, what mistakes do you see new players making? I'd love to do a video about the mistake. Today we are going to be going over the two main phases in Magic the Gathering. And some call it the first main and second main phases. Others can call it the pre-combat and post-combat phases. One is before combat and one is after. Why is it important? You want to give your opponent as little information about what you have in your hand as possible. I see a lot of new players casting everything they can before combat. This is a bad idea. Unless you are casting a card that will give you a specific advantage in combat. We will go over that in a bit. You can cast creatures in either the pre-combat or post-combat phases. If you plan to attack on your turn, you should almost always wait until after combat to cast any creatures that would have summoning sickness. You don't want your opponent to know what you have a potential blocker on their turn. In this example, our opponent has a Glory Seeker on their battlefield. We have a Falkenrath Reaver on our side and a Falkenrath Reaver in our hand. Since the Glory Seeker and the Falkenrath Reaver are both 2/2, we want to attack. Here are the two options. Option 1. We cast the Falkenrath Reaver from our hand before combat. Then we swing with our other Falkenrath Reaver. Our opponent sees that we already have a blocker on their turn, so they block and the two creatures die. No damage gets through on this turn. Option 2. We wait to cast the Falkenrath Reaver until after combat. Our opponent doesn't know that we have a second creature, and so they decide not to block. They could be thinking that they take 2 this turn and will swing for 2 next turn. This would keep the game even. After you deal your damage, you can cast your other Falkenrath Reaver. Now if they swing on their turn, you can block to make the 2 creatures trade. This is a very common situation. Don't give your opponent extra information. In this case, you should always take option 2 and cast your creature after combat. The chances of you dealing some damage are greater in option 2. Let's rewind. In this example, we have the same creatures on the battlefield, but we have a Brazen Scourge in our hand. The Brazen Scourge has haste. This means it can attack on the same turn it comes out. It's like they already had their morning cup of coffee, and so they are ready to go. In this example, you want to cast Brazen Scourge before combat. Now you have 2 creatures on the battlefield ready to attack. When you go into combat, you swing with both creatures. Now your opponent has the tough decision of which creature they should block. If they block the 2/2, they will only take 3, but will have the Brazen Scourge to deal with next turn. If they block the Brazen Scourge, they will only take 2, but they will lose their Glory Seeker. They will have to figure out if they have something to take out both of our creatures on their turn. So you can see in this set of examples that casting creatures before combat isn't the right thing to do unless it gives you a combat advantage. Now let's give you a little test. Your opponent has Bastion Enforcer on the battlefield and you have a Falkenrath Reaver. In your hand, you have another Falkenrath Reaver and also a Brazen Scourge. You only have enough mana to cast one of these cards. What is the best play? Pause the video a moment and come up with your answer. I'll wait. Okay, the best play is not to cast your Brazen Scourge before combat. The Bastion Enforcer can block it and take it out. Swing with the Falkenrath Reaver and see what your opponent does. If they decide to block it, they will trade. Then you can cast either of your creatures on your post-combat phase. The best one to cast is the other Falkenrath Reaver. And that way on your turn, you can still cast the Brazen Scourge and use its haste ability. That will give you a 5 power on the battlefield. How'd you do? Do you understand why you shouldn't cast your creatures before combat? Tell me in the comments below. If you like this video, consider subscribing. Just hit that Rhino down below. And don't forget that bell notification so you don't miss anything. These videos are possible because of my sponsor, Fire Cannon Games, and my generous patrons. Check out the videos on the side, they may interest you. I have more videos coming out soon. So, until then, Rhino out.